Let's get to Curtis Ellis in New York. Hey, Curtis, good to have you, man.
Hey, good to be here.
What debate were they watching? I couldn't believe it when I got home and put CNN on. I thought I was in like an alternative universe.
Yeah, well, they were watching the debate of the media industry establishment, the media industry complex. They were watching the debate that was going on in Lester Holt's head when he did not ask Hillary Clinton one tough question, but asked Mr. Trump a whole bunch of them. There were 4 hit questions against Donald Trump, but there were 0 hit questions against Lester Holt. They were watching the debate they wanted to see, and they came to the conclusion they wanted to come to. Lester Holt made the absolute, factually incorrect statement that stop and frisk was found unconstitutional. No, it wasn't. It was one judge in New York who, by the way, ruled in favor of the Weather Underground terrorists, the same judge who ruled that the police shouldn't have held a suspect in the 9/11 shootings, right? This is the kind of judge who ruled that stop and frisk is some kind of racial profiling thing. That judge was removed from the case. That judge was cited for violating the code of ethics of judiciary. That judge basically was forced to retire. But there's only the Supreme Court can rule something unconstitutional. The case was never taken to the Supreme Court, so therefore it was not ruled unconstitutional. One time stop and frisk appeared before the Supreme Court. Earl Warren, not known as an Antonin Scalia type of judge, 8-1 ruled it constitutional. So anyway, Lester Holt makes stuff up, and these people make stuff up. It's unbelievable how you have a debate about the 3 topics that were supposed to be covered were achieving prosperity, the direction of America, and securing America. What on earth does birtherism and will Donald Trump release his taxes have to do with any of those topics?
Nothing.
I mean, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Donald Trump went in there and he walked into the lion's den. He walked into the buzzsaw that is the corrupt media. He won. People saw him being him, and every time he was attacked by the Hillary bot, because she sounded robotic. Every time she was attacked
I'm
by
sorry,
the Hillary
Curtis.
bot.
Hey, Michael, write that down. # Hillary bot. All right, Curtis, that made me laugh. Hillary bot. Do you mind if I steal that?
And she was helped by the other debater in that forum, who was Lester Holt. Every time that happened, his poll numbers went up. People saw, any guy watching that debate saw, oh, that's like when I argue with my wife and my mother-in-law is in the room. That's what they saw, okay? That's what they saw.
Curtis.
And we've seen this. When will these people ever learn? We've seen this for the past 15 months. Every time Donald Trump is unfairly attacked, he gets stronger. He's like Godzilla. It's like they fire he goes into the power lines of Tokyo, and he gets stronger. And the jets attack him, and he gets stronger.
I'm sorry, Curtis. It made me laugh with Hillary bot. That really sums it up.
I heard it when you played her. I was there last night.
Right.
I was there on site, and it was, I was concentrating, trying to listen to every word and, get the important stuff out here. But hearing her on the radio this morning when you played that, she sounds robotic. I kind of miss that. I don't miss it like, oh, gee, I wish I could have some more. I mean, I didn't catch it last night because I was listening to her words. I wasn't listening to how she sounds. And she sounds lawyerly, over-rehearsed, robotic. She crams in all these words and all these things, which just a bunch of BS when she says she has a plan for anything.
God. I mean,
it's
didn't
ridiculous.
you think
She doesn't have a plan. She has a make-believe wish list. She has a fairy tale that she's going to tell people, and everybody mistakes that for a plan, or not everybody, most people know it's nonsense. And this whole thing, look, I'll tell you, Mr. Trump came out of the box gangbusters. Most people, I suspect, I'd like to see the audience numbers on this debate. I have a feeling they listened to the first half hour, and then they went over and watched the football game. In the first half hour, he took her apart on trade, on NAFTA, on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, on her two-faced record of disaster. The Clintons are the masters of disaster when it comes to jobs in this country. And, she blatantly lied. She said, actually, jobs were created in the 1990s. No, they weren't. Manufacturing jobs fell. You can look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics and see that. Will the Washington Post fact-check that? No, they won't.
Curtis, you're so right here, and thanks for joining us again, because we love your insight, because you're always spot on like me. That's why we get along so well. And I love Hillary Bott, and I also love the debate, and you're fighting with your spouse, and then your mother-in-law pipes in, right? I mean, you got no shot at winning.
Yeah.
The other thing look what you just said, and I want to outline this for our listeners today. And this is why I was so excited and why I thought Trump just routed her last night. The only piece of this debate which they talked about substantive issues was the first third when they talked about creating jobs.
Right.
Other than that, it was birtherism, it was racism, it was tax returns, all nonsense, right? That have nothing to do with anybody's lives anywhere. That was 45 minutes was spent on nonsense that nobody cares about. In the first half of the debate, where they actually debated substantive issue, taxes, jobs, the economy, Trump's tax plan, NAFTA, Trump annihilated her. I mean, it was a whitewash. But that was the only piece of the debate that was substantive. And then what did Lester Holt have to do? He had to save Clinton by throwing up birtherism and whether or not Trump was against a war based on something he said on the Howard Stern show at 5:55 a.m. in 1993. I mean, this is like insanity, this debate last
insanity.
night.
And I tell you what, you listen to that Howard Stern interview, it's exactly how Donald Trump laid it out. It's like, are you in favor? I'll do my best, Howard Stern. Are you in favor of invading Iraq? I guess so. I wish they'd done it right the first time 20 years ago. I mean, that is not a ringing endorsement. Hillary Clinton was the only candidate on that stage who voted for the Iraq War. Hillary Clinton went to every classified briefing. She served on the Armed Services Committee. And you're going to compare her vote for the Iraq War with, I guess so, to a shock jock, saying that to a shock jock. I mean, come on.
Okay,
I mean, that's like when you ask your kid, do you want to go to the opera? And you get dead silence, and they say, well, we'll go for pizza afterwards. And they say, look, you get to see your friends tomorrow night. And we'll go for pizza afterwards, and you can even have a hot fudge sundae after that. You want to go to the opera? I guess so. I mean, come on. Anybody who knows human beings rather than reading a legal transcript knows what happened in that interview. Okay? But these people pretend. They all live in their heads. They've never talked to a person, it seems like. Again, they're acting like Hillary bots. They're acting like these legalistic bots, robots that don't know human emotion. I mean, this is ridiculous. And let me just say one thing about this tax return nonsense. Most people do not care about Mr. Trump's tax returns, okay? The only tax return they care about is the one they are forced and required to file on April 15th. And they would rather not think about that. You know, the left, these people think, they've got this great issue. We're going to talk about Donald Trump not releasing his tax returns. Most people would rather have a root canal than think about tax returns, okay? They don't want to think about taxes at all. They don't want to think about, the same way they don't like to think about or talk about flossing their teeth. They have to do it. They do it. Okay, fine. Next. And then and by talking about, well, we're going to force him to release his tax return, they are now putting themselves on the side of the IRS. They're being identified emotionally with the tax collector and the tax man. We're going to tell you what to do with your taxes. Oh, great. That's a really good position to be in. You know, now, I get it. The reporters think it's their job. I realize most people are not going to read Donald Trump's 1,000-page tax returns, but we're going to read it, and we're going to interpret that for the people out there who don't have time to read it, and they trust us to interpret it. No, they don't trust you to do anything anymore. Maybe it's sometime in 1962, you'd come home, you'd turn on the TV, watch Ozzie and Harriet, and before that, you would have Walter Cronkite tell you what was going on in the world, and you trusted him and believed him, and when he told you something, you'd say, oh, thank you for doing that, Walter. I didn't have time to go out and scour the newspaper, so you can tell me what went on in the world today. That's not how people view the media today, okay? Get it? Guys, you guys have discredited yourself so thoroughly. Nobody trusts you to do anything. Nobody trusts what you have to say. Nobody cares what you have to say anymore. And no, you are not going to interpret. People do not believe that you are going to interpret Mr. Trump's tax returns and tell us what's important in there, okay? So just get over it. Get over yourselves. Get a grip. Those days are over. And if Mr. Trump did not pay any taxes one year, as Hillary Clinton she more than insinuated. I mean, she really basically, tried to plant that as a fact when it was speculation. He was right. If he didn't, most people think he's a smart guy. He knows how to get around the system because the government's only going to waste his tax dollars anyway, so I'd rather he spend that money making the casino nicer than giving it to these jerks.
Nobody does their taxes and goes to their accountant and says, be sure that I can pay the maximum, right? Nobody does that. You pay people to reduce your tax burden. That's why, they've got 7,000 loopholes. Plus, he's a real estate investor, which has all kinds of incentives in order to reduce your tax burden, all kinds of deals made with the government to get your properties there. They have these all over Virginia. Our own governor has them all over the place,
right.
Ways to get your tax burden down. So, look, I think that was ridiculous. I got a couple more minutes. I'm with Curtis Ellis. He's the executive director of the American Jobs Alliance, by the way, a founding sponsor of the John Fredericks Show. Obamacare not brought up last night. Hopefully that'll be coming up in the next couple of debates. You can go to Obamacare.com, get more info. Curtis here. We got 2 minutes. Let me just read you an email I got here from James in Richmond, who says, hi, John. I'm for Trump, but he did not do a good job last night. He drank water constantly, was sniffing all night, and he looked like he was jacked up on something. He was not calm. He did not seem in control, and he missed way too many opportunities. Sorry, I don't think he won this one. From James in Richmond. How do you respond to that?
We see a guy who America saw a person who was himself. Look, he was not over-prepared. He was not scripted. He was playing it as a person plays it. And she was totally scripted, totally prepared. And they saw a guy who was himself. He's comfortable in his own skin. He went in there, and he fought the fight the way he wanted to fight the fight. And I thought they saw... the people saw a person who's a person versus a Hillary bot, versus a robot.
That's what I thought. I thought it was a clear victory for Trump. And my analysis, Curtis, in the final 20 seconds we have, is I looked at this debate through the eyes of somebody that has not made a firm decision on who they were going to vote for. I don't see how Hillary Clinton, with last night's performance, got a single new voter. I don't think she got any. I think anybody that was in the middle after this debate, they're going to vote for Trump. That's why I think he won in a rout, my judgment. We're out of time. I want to thank Curtis Ellis for being with us. Keep it right here on the John Fredericks Radio Network.